Okay, well, hello and welcome to those of you who have joined us today for our Young Carers in Schools guest webinar. This is the first of our series, and I'm delighted to say that we've been joined by Dave Anderson from Churchill Community College. My name is Jess Hill, and I'm the Schools Policy and Development Officer from Carers Trust. So thank you again for joining us, and without further ado, I will now pass you over to Dave. So thank you. Welcome, Dave.
Hello.
Aha, lovely. Yes, we can see your screen. That's fantastic.
Lovely. Hello. Just let me know when to start, and I'll start.
Yeah, go for it, Dave. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Smashing. I think the first thing I kind of thought about when this award was sort of presented to me in terms of something to go for, I just thought of it in terms of if I was sitting in your shoes, were expecting to see something, what would I want to see? And what I decided was two things. One, to make it really very self-explanatory and make it very visual, so everything was up front and there from the start. But then secondly, it wasn't just an award I was going for. I wanted to make it something that actually meant something to the school and meant something to the students. So sometimes when you go for an award or when you submit some work or something, certain aspects might have been done rushed or at the last minute or latterly, and I think it's really evident when that happens. And so what I decided to go for was the bronze level, because anything I did, I felt had to be a true reflection, and I felt that was where we were at. We were at bronze, we weren't silver or gold necessarily. So the first thing I did was I created this folder that you can see here, and I had the 5 areas, I had the checklist, and I put together a PowerPoint as well. So what I'm going to do is I'll break those down and talk a little bit about what I did for each. But it kind of began with this, which I hope you can see.
Yep.
You can see the review. Essentially, I looked at the basics part of it and looked down the key action. So the first one, remember the SLT, strategic responsibility, and then someone in a more operational, what the steps were. I ragged it. You can see I ragged it as green, and then I just put myself in as the carers lead, and then the leadership person at the time was Lucy Roderick, my line manager. As it's happened since then, I'm now on the leadership team, so I've kind of got dual responsibility. But at the time that was the way it was. I think I put the owner as me for most of them, because I really wanted to make sure I was operationally putting everything in place and making sure it was happening. And then obviously I said whether it was done. And what I was quite pleased was, as I did the review, it was all kind of green, and even the yellow ones were things that were happening during the review. But what I found was that the review was, as a starting point, a really great place to begin, because it showed me, A, what was already in place, and therefore, if things were already in place, I just need to gather that evidence. And then if things hadn't been in place, it was my action of something to where to go to next. So I looked at the checklist, and really I tried to keep things simple. And so whenever it had too much information on the submission sheet, I just got rid of it, and I just kept things to the bronze. So with each of the 5 levels there, I'd sort of said I felt I was at bronze. Then scrolling further down, I got rid of silver and gold. So you can see here, I just, standard 1, for instance, the bronze, senior team and operational lead. And then on the other side, I sort of directed you where to find it. So I'd given the evidence in black, and then in red told you where to find it. And this PowerPoint slide, PowerPoint that I keep referencing, I'll come to in a moment. But throughout, I thought it was fairly straightforward. And I don't know, Jess, in terms of someone receiving this, was it quite straightforward to read?
Definitely, yeah. It was really easy to kind of see what you were referring to, and then when you come onto your PowerPoint shortly, you'll kind of see how easily they were matched up. It was really easy to go through from our end.
So yeah, so I mean, I worked it like a bit of an appendices, I guess, like that. But like I say, the PowerPoint was the main sort of feature, I guess, of my submission, because I try to keep things quite straightforward. I've got something slightly blocking my screen slightly, so what I'll do is I'll keep switching it back and forth so you can see what I'm doing. But as you can see, I posted on standard 1, what it was, and it's the fact that there's these leads. So there's my picture there, and there's a picture on the far right, and underneath the job descriptions, and I actually put on our job description so it can be seen, and you can see there's a link, a hyperlink, and it's to our website, and it shows our job description. So again, it's up there and it's up front about what we were doing. Standard 2 was around Standard 3 there. Standard 2 is about awareness, and Standard 3 around identification. So here, the first one is, number 1, on the shared area, inside our department folder, there's registers for various groups, including young carers. So here's the T drive, the shared drive. You can see learning support comes down here, and I had registers come down a bit further, and I've got sort of the young carers list there, which I share with all staff. On the other side, in the staff room, and I've blurred this so you can't sort of see faces enough, but it's got the kind of the faces of our students, our high profiles, and within that, it includes the young carers. But then also every week I send an email to the whole school. My role here is I'm SENCo, young carers, pupil premium, higher ability, and all the rest. And so I think it's important to share that information. So down here, evidence number 3 for this particular part, I just showed them my screen, my sent items around that, and it's the weekly update, and I include stuff about the young carers. And I had a meeting with one young carer last week, which went really well. It was another sort of review of where we're at, and they were reviewing some work from the local area. That goes in the weekly update so people are aware. Next one there, and again, I just tried to make it self-explanatory. So we've got mentors that are set up, and I kind of did a sort of dear diary sort of photo casebook in terms of, you know, showing where to find things. So we've got the posters with the various child protection and working with props and NSPCC and outside help and etc. But also I had the head of year speaking to one of the mentors and, you know, looking through the guides to share and stuff. And again, it just, you know, sort of I thought showed evidence in terms of what we do. And then we've got a place called the Mobiles, which is literally a porta cabin out the back, but it's where the nurses are, the school nurses and the school mentors, etc. And again, it just showed the picture of what we have. And again, I think it just showed that I wasn't just doing things for an award. It's stuff that's already in place, and I pulled it together. Standard 5, again, the same thing. I don't need to, it's pretty self-explanatory, but showing the booklets that go home, the student points, sorry, the Mobiles again. And then finally, Standard 5 again, we've got a thoughts box where it's sort of like feedback can go in for the school nurses and the mentors. Again, I had the same photos about the guidance team. And that was kind of it for the PowerPoint, really. But alongside that, I had my folder set up, and I sent this in on a memory stick with all the stuff. So for understand, there's my job description, and I put in the review. For inform, I wrote a letter to the governors. I think it's got certain names on and stuff. I don't think I can show the actual letter, but in there I basically sort of said what my role was. I think there was a template in the information that was sent out. Is that right?
There is, yes. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I think I just used that actually. And then my policy, again, it'll be on the school website, but I kind of used about 3 different policies that I'd seen as good practice, made them for our school, and then it passed through governors sort of instantly, because there was nothing in there that really we got wrong. And I think the thing I kept saying at a meeting that we had earlier in the year was, if you get it right for young carers, you get it right for everyone. And it was a case of just making sure that you really, you know, you're making sure that everything's done correctly for them. And if really you're doing that appropriately and consistently, I think every student will benefit. Identify, I think, was just to be in the PowerPoint. Listen, I had evidence of drop-ins. I have a student feedback form, and I think Jess might have used that. I think I sent you it as an email, and that might be somewhere else.
Yes, it was. We used it in our bronze webinars, actually, as a good practice example.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go. So, and it worked, and it goes really well when I meet them, and it just gives us those actions about they might be willing to say something that they otherwise wouldn't. And then support. Again, it's very straightforward. I've really labelled it, and I think that was what I sent off, and I was really chuffed that it came back in terms of the bronze award was passed and everything was fine. The plan was that I was going to enter it. I was going to enter sort of the silver around now, but what I decided was the reason why the bronze had gone quite well was because I didn't rush it, and I made sure that I really was secure in where we're at before I sent off. So my plan is to enter silver either Easter or May, and I'll do that, and it'll be the same format, just once I feel that we're really at that point. It's not about getting a nice award, it's about, you know, the recognition of getting it right for the kids. Does that make sense?
Definitely, yeah.
So that's it, really. I mean, I feel like I've sort of rambled a bit there, but
no, that was brilliant.
Yeah, so that's it, really. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think kind of like the main kind of points that you've mentioned is, you know, it's not just about doing it for the award. It's kind of, you know, this is some things that you've already had in place already, and I'm sure many schools who are listening today have got similar things in place. So it's just kind of, like you say, making sure it's right for young carers and making sure it's right for everyone. And it's really great to hear that you're taking your time because you want to, not because it's taking a long time to put it together, but to get it right that way, which is brilliant. So thank you so much for sharing, Dave. I think everybody here has found that very beneficial. Thank you. So if anybody has any questions for Dave or for myself or about young carers in schools in general, please do type in the chat box, which should be at the bottom of your screen here, and just let us know if there's any questions that you'd like us to answer. While we're waiting, Dave, would you mind answering a question that I have? Thinking about kind of what kind of impact has this had on the young carers that you work with to have the award and have that recognition for them? How have you had any other feedback from them recently, or have you seen a difference in pupils, or
I think I did an assembly when I first found out about the award. I did an assembly way back in early spring, and I did an assembly for each of the year groups, and it kind of felt like I was giving out information and saying, come and speak to me if you feel that, you know, you are a young carer, and I explained what a young carer was, etc. and stuff, and nothing really happened, and then too much, and I kind of had to go then do some further work because no one was really, other than the ones I already knew, no one really further. And then when I was going for the award, and then I did kind of another assembly, and I really felt that we had that, you know, I really felt that we were going to achieve. I was able to say, look, this is what we're going for, this is what we do, this is where we're really proud. And I sort of said, look, you know, you should be really proud of yourself for the work you do and whatever. And we are, as a school, have been recognised for the support we give those that we know. And then what happened was that a few more students kind of came forward, stepped forward, and those that I knew about were a little bit more open, and so me coming and having a chat with them wasn't quite such a secret, as it were. And you know, when like I said, I met with a lad last week around reviewing some stuff for young carers in North Tyneside. He was reviewing some stuff that we've been given around, you know, sort of parents with mental health, etc. And it's some resources around will this work kind of stuff. And he was just far more open than he was when I first met him. And I think, again, a couple more students have kind of come forward, and it just makes life a lot easier that there's that confidence and there's that knowledge that we do have young carers. And, you know, I know that the list, the official list, as it were, that I've got of who my young carers are, isn't accurate. I think there are more than the ones we've got. It's a growing list, and they're no longer, I think, it's no longer like the cousin that you don't speak to quite so much. It's as part of the rest of the vulnerable groups, like those with SEN, those that are higher ability, those that are looked after. They're as high profile as the rest, and they're getting talked about a lot more in meetings, and that's nice. That's really, really good. I think it's a big step forward, you know. Definitely,
yeah. Kind of raising that general school awareness within pupils and staff bodies as well, I think is really important, which is fab. That's brilliant. We've got one question. The question is, roughly how long did the admin submission process take in terms of time commitment? So how long did it take to put the application together, which I think is...
yeah, not long at all. I think it's one of those things where the review will take the longest amount of time because you've got to sort of sit down and look at every sort of bit of the criteria, and do we have that in place, do we not have that in place? Because if you don't have something in place, you know, writing a policy or developing a feedback form or whatever like that, that's going to take the time it would take, but you'd be doing that anyway as part of your role. So it was just like anything really, it was just pulling it together off, they're all soft copies, as it were, digital copies. So it's just a case of saving it to a different folder. So that took no time at all. And the PowerPoint, I chose to do the PowerPoint, with all the pictures that you can see. I don't know if you can still see them on the screen, but putting that together, that took a while, but it took us as long as a PowerPoint takes to put together. So I think in terms of hours, if you call it that, in terms of how many hours did it take, the whole thing, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
But that's including doing the review, which took a good 2.5 hours, because I wanted to make sure that I had it absolutely nailed. And I didn't just do the basics part. I did, I reviewed myself at silver and gold as well. So if you're just aiming for the bronze, to do the review and then just collate the information shouldn't take more than, a few hours. And again, if you've got everything in place, it'll take no time at all. It's just, but if you decide that you haven't got everything in place, then it'll take longer. But that's just because you're doing the right thing and you're putting things in place first before you go for an award,
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, and I think doing the baseline review is kind of the first key step that we promote and kind of suggest that schools do, because it, like you were saying, it helps you to identify what you've got in place and kind of acknowledge that, and then think about where you want to move next. And it's a good first step to take. So we really recommend that all schools do that first. We've had another question come in, and it says, do you differentiate between young carers and young adult carers in terms of what you offer students?
As in the support?
I think so, yeah. So differentiating between young carers and young adult carers.
I think, in a school, differentiation, whether it's in the classroom around readability or whether it's around, out of the class in terms of the, supported unstructured times, or in terms of something more holistic, in terms of work with, other agencies and provision around, after school clubs or whatever it is. I think it's just a case of, I always look at the child first and then just meet their needs, or look at, whoever it is, the person that's sat in front of me, and what can I do for them. I'm sat in my office at the minute, and my provision maps on the wall, and in front of my desk I've got flyers for independent parental support agencies and things like that. And like anyone in a school in my position, there's this massive menu provision map of what you have on offer, and it's just about picking the right provision for the right person. So you have to differentiate, because even between two young carers, what you provide is different. But that's just what you do when you're in a school supporting students. Is that okay?
That's brilliant, thank you. Okay, so just have a couple more minutes just to see if any more questions come in. So a comment has come back, so thank you for answering that question. We're looking at how we improve transition to adulthood support and their future opportunities, which I think can lie within schools, but it's a difficult question to answer, I think, kind of looking at transitions to further education or college, and it's definitely something that Carers Trust are working on.
Yeah, you kind of beat me to the punch, because I think it's that. It's work with the Young Carers Trust, work with the the young carers organisations in the local authority. North Tynesyde's are fantastic. Steve Wilkinson and his team, and not only that, just connections, companies. As you would with, like I said earlier, they're a vulnerable group like SEN, like Pupil Premium, Higher Ability, Looked After, whatever, and you work with the colleges and connections, etc., with when it comes to reviewing those students. So just in the same fashion, and provide them with the information that there is in terms of, if you have a sixth form, a post-16 area, then just explain how and what you do there. And if it's a case of there's a local college or an apprenticeship or whatever like that, I think it's just working with the organisations that do this as their business, which is connections and Young Carers Trust and stuff, to make sure that all that information's there, because they're the experts, and I hold my hands up and I turn to them for everything, really.
Definitely, and I think, like you say, you're aware of all these other agencies and colleges and things, and it's kind of really important to build up those relationships, like you would, like you say, with the SEN children or people premium children, kind of making sure that young carers are also included in that fold. And I think once young carers are identified in schools, it really does help with their future transitions, because they can, it's on their file. Their information can be shared with wherever they're going to next. Other educational professionals can know about their situation, if consent's given and things like that. And I think it really does help build up their future opportunities as well. So I hope that's answered your question. It was a very interesting one. Thank you. I don't think we've had any more in. So just wanted to say thank you so much, Dave, for giving up your time and for sharing kind of your key steps and the impacts that going for the award has had on your school. It's been brilliant. Just double check. Yeah.
I mean, you've got my email address, Jess, so if anyone got in touch later on with you, forward anything on, I'm happy to help. It's fine, happy to help anyone.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. And again, there'll be a follow-up email, which I'll include my email address, which you should all have already. But again, as Dave says, if there's any other questions that you feel haven't been answered today, then please do get in touch, and we can try our best to answer them. And thank you very much for joining us. And thank you, Dave. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you.